Sometimes it's really interesting what happens in the automotive industry, whereas other manufacturers are skipping a lot of models to have a more lean product portfolio. Also, for example, because they parallel have to develop EVs. This one here, Renault, they are bringing out more and more models and filling each gap. This one here is the Renault Symbioz, an all-new compact crossover or a compact SUV, however you want to define it. And we'll want to test out how good is it and does it make sense in this very niche. We're going to find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Here in the front we see a very modern front. The color is Mercury blue, so a light blue color. LED lamps, and the daytime running light is in the lower part and has this, yeah, maybe this lightning symbol design. I would maybe call it that way. What do you think about design? Tell me in the comments. As for the length, really compact dimensions, 4,41 meters or 174 inches. 18 or 19-inch wheels. This is the high iconic trim. And this one then is also then coming with the 19-inch wheels. You see these crossover wheel arches, and it is, let's say, like a Golf segment, so to speak, a little bit longer, as I just said, but still in this very, very compact segment. The rear axle is, by the way, semi-rigid, so we have to see how that translates into the comfort or not in driving later on. At the rear, we can see a very modern signature here with the tail lamps, so I really like it. I think Renault is really nailing some design stuff recently. Or what do you think about it? Silver contrast in the lower part. Soon more about the engine. Top speed will be 170 kilometers an hour, 110 miles per hour. Maybe you can already figure it's not like this racy high-speed car and so on, but it's also not supposed to be like that. The positioning inside the Renault portfolio is, by the way, between the Captur and the Austral. So that's where the Symbioz fits in. And then let's take a look at the engines. So no hydraulic struts. Our gas strut, there we go. And this is here a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder hybrid, 145 horsepower, 10.9 seconds in the acceleration figure, so not too powerful, but hopefully very good in the fuel economy. I'll keep you updated with that later on. It's of course front-wheel drive only. The Renault key card is still here, and yeah, sometimes you feel it's like an Apple magic mouse you can move or something. But is it time for another key fob? Tell me in the comments, what do you think about it? I think yes. Then door closing sound. Not ideal. In the rear it's better, in the front not so good, honestly. Then front doors is somewhat softer in the top part, and here fabrics, the iconic trim. Then here a softer leather red. Nice with the slight galvanization here on the top of the window levers. Hard pick at the inside of the doors, everything. And then really applauding is the steering wheel. Has a perforation, it's really soft underneath on the top part here as well. And this is not animal material, so a high-grade leather red, and Renault shows how it's done. Yeah, so that's really well done. Real buttons also the steering wheel, like that, and you get different kind of fabric seats in these trims, also animal-free. Some leather red application at the side, and they're really nicely done from the styling and from design. These are also the electric seats. Let's check out the comfort, and it's actually nice here also from the bolstering. Also high enough. I'm 1,89 meters or 6'2" if you don't know yet. And this is also equipped with the panoramic roof, and that still leaves some headroom here. So actually a nice cozy position. The only thing is, like for tall adults, not thinking about the seat because the material is also really good, but here, like the knee area, like there's the steering column, and then there's the middle console, and then it's like this whole area then for your knee is very tight. That's the thing. Cockpit overview. Let's start here at the right side. You get different deco elements right here. You can also get a bluish one in the Esprit Alpine trim, for example. Then the glove box is somewhat dampened, and it goes. What is it? Look, do you see this? This you can see like almost reach the engine. Yeah, no, you can almost reach the engine from here, but at least for like rare case where there's a lot of space in the glove box. Then here's also the soft leather red, so that's nice. And you can see once again the passenger seat, which really looks nice also from like the whole layout and so on. So good job right there. Then this armrest, however, this is to be criticized, not from the top, but here you slide open, then there's some space, but then look at that. Bang. And when you find out about this for the first time, you might even squish your fingers. Poor honey. Sorry about that. Yeah, definitely have to point it out. Then cup holders. Here they are adaptive. as well. And then there's a place here for the key card. At least that's a good thought, you know, so it stays then here in place. And then in the lower part, there is a place then here with inductive charging. So that works at least, but it's not cooled. But then when you want to put your smartphone here in the top part, at least for the big smartphone, you know, the girls always have the biggest smartphones, then it doesn't really fit so well here in the top part. Two USB-C chargers then here and a 12-volt power supply. And then there is one more spot for smartphones, but yeah, for the big ones doesn't fit. The smaller ones from the boys, that one does fit there. Yeah, it's the way it is, right? So, and then here the infotainment system, 10-inch in the vertical way with Android Automotive, so it's all Google based. And the cool thing is, on the one hand, so you have like all the Google systems and so on, and you have a modern touchscreen. But I really appreciate it here that we have a manual climate unit with clicking sounds, also for the fan speed and so on. It's just maybe not that logical here. This here, like the heated steering wheel, heated seat, I have to control here. Then you can't click here and you can't click here. Okay, you can click here. It doesn't make a sound, but nothing is changing. But this you do then from here. So I'm not sure. Maybe make it redundant, but then not make this touchable. I don't know. You know, but you know what I mean. It's a little bit confusing, but once you know it, it's actually fine. And then here, this vertical screen. So the cool thing is always that you have this integrated Google Maps thing, and it's also pretty responsive like that. At the same time, you can still access Apple CarPlay, Android Auto if you prefer that. Driver POV, here we change the driving modes and then also the colors in the instruments change. So that looks pretty fancy. And of course, sport mode here is always in red. And you can also change where you want to have like the speed, for example, centralized or more to the left side. What's so funny here?
Sorry. I checked it.
What's so funny?
The mirror is nice.
The mirror? What's so funny with the mirror?
Happy girl. Yeah, I don't know.
You just happen to laugh in the middle of the shooting. Yeah.
Sorry.
Fair enough, fair enough. You have a beautiful smile. And when Leah dares to disturb my moderation with laughing, she might as well show you some of the features, because here, this optional panoramic roof is Electrochrome, and that is very unusual for this very segment. And you can see the segmentation of this one. You can basically use it like a normal shade, just that it's Electrochrome. And that way was all the way open. Now again we are like halfway, and then here it's all the way closed again. Pretty impressive technology. We know it rather from very expensive premium cars and so on. So it's
getting hot in here.
It's still getting hot in here, yes. At least when it's really hot. Can you open and close it again if you can see something of that from the outside? I think not that good from the from the inside, but no. I mean, it's both like a mirror. You can a little bit see that, but more definitely from the inside. And now the quiz of the day for you. Did anyone see this here? Look at that. This structure here. What is it? Did anyone find out? Tell me in the comments. Because this here is supposed to be like the half of the Renault logo in the seat here. I mean, yeah, nice. It's a nice detail, right? When you know it. So did you know? Did you find out? Tell me. And we have the automatic shifting lever, like this for reverse and then this for drive. And you maybe already heard it. Did someone test this? So to me, these small leads are very important. And the thing is, the car can be really good and maybe also reliable. But then it sounds like this and you think like, okay. Yeah, maybe if you like really properly hold it and then do like this, it's okay. It's more like when you let it fly, you know, then it's worse. And two more pros and cons. The Harman Kardon sound system we have here is really decent. So once again, next to the Electrochrome roof, another premium feature that we usually see in higher segment vehicles. But then on the other hand, the rear view camera. Serious? I mean, it looks on our camera now here, it looks even better than it is, but this is so pixelish, I can't imagine that they still put something like this in a vehicle. Rear seats here, hardback on the top part, then you have a fabric insert, but hardback on the lower part again. And then the seating comfort itself is actually really good. Nice fabric surfaces here, so you have the same styling in the front. Here, this is like the hidden ISOFIX then underneath with these zippers. And yeah, I think it's really very comfortable from ergonomics and so on with 189, 6'2". Still, yeah, it works for 12 adults. And also as for the legroom, I mean, it's not a super long car. It also barely works. This recess, the seat would need to be a little bit higher for that to work. Interesting is that here the back part of the seat is also soft in this part. So the downside is this is a little bit weird then. Also, you can make some music. Yeah, that you can make fun of this on the one hand. On the other hand, remember when it's all hard pack, it's also the disadvantage that you hit your knee easier with it. And since it's not so much space, when this area here is a little bit soft, it's actually better because it doesn't hurt your knee. And if this one would be all hard pack, you could still fit less adults here in the rear. So yeah, it's definitely pro and con. Here the side, nice again, so good material choices. Then USB-C chargers right there in the middle part, another 12-volt power supply. Yeah, and then this middle seat here, so there's no separate, armrest or ski hatch or something. You can also sit here with this seat belt, but the thing here, when you leave it like this, that you can easily fold the seats back and forth again, and you're doing some slalom driving or something, it does like this while driving, like a pendulum. So you also have to then use this one and here click it like this, so it's kind of like secured that it doesn't fly around while driving. And the rear bench is slidable actually by 16 centimeters or 6 inches, so that's pretty cool, right? So yeah, I mean, the legroom is not that plentiful, so the most thing you would do by that is increase the trunk space behind you. Taking a look at the trunk or the boot, 490 liters and electric tailgate here. 490 sounds a lot, so let's take a look. So we have first of all the full luggage setup here for you, that you can have a good image of that. It's 1.40 meters in width. Now let's get it clean. We have a normal length of 83 centimeters. That's like 32 inches. And here, 2/3, 1/3 split to load through. And this is here where all the liter figures also come from. Look at that. You can either fold this and access it right here, maybe also for replacement tire. But you can also put out this whole thing or put it then in the stage underneath. That would also be possible. Sport mode. Stop. That was our first acceleration, 50 to 84. You see, it's this 1.6 liter 4-cylinder hybrid, 145 horsepower, not too much power. The acceleration figure is almost 11 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. So see the sport mode, and you also see this different visualization to save some more fuel. You can also go to the comfort mode or to the eco mode. Especially the throttle input does change then. It's very interesting. And we also have this split side mirror, against the blind spot. There's also like a blind spot warner. It's like a small dot then in the side mirror if you want to have that. For the assistance systems, also the speed warning here on the left side, you can just click it basically to activate it, or click it twice to deactivate it. And you also don't have this anti-speeding chime when you accelerate like a little bit too much, maybe have 1 kilometer an hour above that. If you don't want that beep that comes then, which is new EU law, you can at least easily deactivate that. Steering wheel feel here is actually very good because it has this very soft plush character, very good quality. In the normal modes, the steering is very light, but doesn't mean that it's imprecise. Let's see if I go back to the sport mode one more time. Yeah, it's still pretty light, definitely. So all the steering input is really more lent towards the comfortable side. We're here now first the motorway part. And so far, let's go to like 80. We can also go to 100 soon. There we go. Yeah, and here at 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. It's not too loud actually inside. Let's go to the left lane here. And how does it actually feel? So it feels relatively small indeed. So yeah, we have a compact size here, but it actually feels even a little bit smaller than it is. And maybe that's the light steering or something. It's also here in the front, as I shown you earlier in the interior part, I don't have too much space also for my knee and so on. Suspension-wise, definitely set on the comfortable note. We do have the bigger 19-inch wheels mounted here. And if you want more comfort, then you would stick with the smaller 18-inch wheels, because then you have more tire dampening. So far the road is quite good, but we also keep you updated. There's a, not sure if you see it on our cameras, but there's like a red dot then here as a blind spot. But yeah, when it's bright sunlight, I think the indication of that blind spot could be a little bit more present, I have to say. Brake feel, it's actually quite good, but we also have the recuperation, of course, in effect. And when I'm shading through the dark, it's good that they can do it on the steering wheel, but it takes a while also with this visualization and so on. Yeah, really is not the quickest what you can actually do. Let's get off here. It's actually a nice feeling for the steering in general, so it doesn't have like a dead zone area, but to me it's a little bit too light. So more resistance would be better here in that respect. When I'm getting off the motorway here, so here when I'm on the brakes, directly shows here EV, so now I'm driving electric, making use of this hybrid system, always recuperation happening as well. When I'm just you have to learn to drive these hybrid systems, because you can save even more fuel when you, for example, then here just slightly on the throttle, that you stay in this EV mode. Only if you really need that powerful acceleration, then hammer it through that the combustion engine is on again. So here, once again, still EV mode. Then it also makes sense long term. See here, we're going uphill, 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 still EV mode, still EV. And this, what I mean by learning, in that case, yeah, maybe with a combustion engine that's running anyway, maybe you would have accelerated out a little bit harder already, but here you try to foresee things a little bit more than, and try to be a little bit calmer with the throttle input yourself. And here, now the EV mode actually turned off. And then you can also imagine that these fuel savings add up by time, even if you are on the motorway. So in the city traffic, of course, it makes most sense, because you have a lot of stop and go, and parking in and out often can be done in the pure EV mode, for example. But even here on the motorway, yes, on the one hand you carry more weight than without the battery system, but on the other hand, you know, that you just run straight like 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour for such a long time. On some motorways maybe, in some countries, but depending on the traffic, there's always stuff happening that you have to use your brakes, and then recuperation is happening and so on. So here I would say, when you're getting close to 100 kilometers an hour, then the wind noise is picking up a little bit. It's not too windy outside here today, when you see, like, you can always watch at the trees and, you know, bushes and so on. But I think up to 100 kilometers an hour, it's actually really fine and feels pretty calm and collected. But then more than 100, a little bit more wind noise. Of course, maybe at a later stage, when we have the car in Germany, we can also do more German motorway tests and so on. It's getting hot in here, right? Yeah, but we won't take off all of them. Yeah, for the cameras as well. The cameras also need cooling, and definitely have to say, at the moment we have the panoramic roof on this Electrochrome shutter. And yes, that's better than if it's just transparent, but at the same time,
It's hot, yeah.
it's still hot, right? Yeah, Leah just felt that. Yeah, I mean, it's just still the fact, you know, when you have a closed roof, it will always stay cooler than with a panoramic roof, no matter if you apply some kind of shade to it. You just have to know that. So only order that one when you don't live in the hottest region or something like that. Here, from the calmness of the suspension and so on the motorway, I think it's quite likable. So just from the chassis and everything itself, I could also imagine a longer motorway trip. Minus the thing that the seats themselves, they're actually really nice, how they feel. But from the ergonomics and how you are positioned in the cockpit, I feel it's not the best for tall adults, let's say it that way. Maybe, you know, when I go a little bit more behind. Sometimes I feel like the seats are more laid out to smaller people, not with like so much height. Or what do you say? Leah is fine?
Yeah.
Leah is fine? Yeah.
And
You see,
it's nice. Yeah.
this is also it's really subjective, you know, but that's maybe the only comfort thing. I would say that the seats themselves are pretty cool for material and so on, but I feel it's not the best then for tall people, but it's always better to check it out at the dealer yourself. But here from how it handles on the motorway, besides that the steering is too light, the car itself moves, moves quite nicely. And now, for example, even here at 100 kilometers an hour, I'm in the EV mode at the moment because the battery is quite full and the car can maintain that speed. The top speed overall, by the way, is 170 kilometers an hour. So it's like 110 miles per hour. That's interesting. That car here next to us, this Citroen Sara, caught like a plastic bag and now it's stuck underneath, making interesting noises. I'm not sure if you can actually hear that on camera. Now we are switching another motorway. Let's see, do one more lane change. Yeah, definitely. The one thing that they need to fix most is the steering wheel. It's just too light. Oh, now hopefully we don't catch it. But it still was a piece. Yeah. I have no idea how that gets on the motorway, where people maybe like throw that stuff out of the window and so on. Can't really understand that. So the engine-wise, I mean, first didn't sound that good, like 1.6 liter four-cylinder hybrid and so on. But actually that feels surprisingly nice. Yes, you might say it might need more power, but then again, some other cars in the segment also don't have much more horsepower and so on. I think that's actually quite fine. Maybe one more time when we are at speed. So let me go one more time to the sport mode in comparison. From 80 to 100, let's go. Flop, that's it. And I think that's not super powerful, but overall I feel it's quite okay. And at the end of the driving part, we'll also keep you more an update on our final fuel economy for today. Then assistance systems. Go to this middle lane here. And then I can also easily activate it here with my left thumb. Real buttons, glad to have them. And then I also have the active lane keeping assist to activate it. Let's see here. Also a slight bend here on the motorway. So far so good. Not too many hectic reactions and so on. So yeah, seems to be quite good from the first impression. And here we can also drive 120 kilometers an hour here now. So like 70 miles an hour. And there's then on the blind spot monitor active. So I'm waiting for being overtaken, then I can overtake. So there we go. And one more time. So now 120. And yeah, I feel that around your ears, it's not too annoying as for the wind noise and so on, or like the general rolling noise and so on. But then everything above 100 kilometers an hour, I feel like there's some wind turbulence noise coming from the side mirrors, which is not an unnatural thing to happen. You do hear that, but it stays kind of there and it's not very close to your ears. So I think it's overall okay. So driving wise, really like the steering wheel needs to be just a little bit firmer. I feel that's the most important thing you could do with that one. But the other aspects were actually quite pleasing. Let's see how we score more good consumption figures than also in the city and so on. Interesting turning indicator sound, right? Isn't it? So we drive a little bit slower now. And there, once again, what I said, like I feel it's really silent, especially if you have the AC. There we go. I think like at lower speeds it's astonishingly silent and comfortable, isn't it? So, and especially here then when I stay in this countryside road speed and so on, it's really nice. Yeah, and then once again when you are like more stationary or even that, I didn't really push my foot completely off the pedal. I just lifted it a little bit while accelerating, and it goes into the EV mode. So this whole hybrid system works, pretty responsive. Really nice. And here, for example, auch another example is when I go uphill now. Of course, the EV mode is not on, but I have the assistance by the additional help by the electric system. Now, like the small hill is over. Now I'm going downhill. I don't need so much power from the combustion engine, and then I can also see if I'm in this eco region or I need the power. And now going downhill, see now we're already gaining back some energy and we're in the EV mode once again. So I think at the end of the day, this will definitely help us. Now we're reducing speed, just rolling, and then all electric. And let's also see once more here with the steering. So the command's actually quite nice, but they have to steer quite some. Really light, but although it's light, you still have a good feeling for the car. And here, when you do some slalom, you once again feel that the suspension is pretty soft. And you even feel that the rear axle would be a little bit fishtailing somehow, but I'm not sure if that's just like a subjective feeling. But it shows like the overall soft setup of the vehicle, so you will not race that through the corners. That's not where it's meant to be. But you rather enjoy that the suspension is set rather soft and that it's more comfortable. Consumption, some 5 liters on 1 kilometers, a little bit less than that, so 47 mpg US, 56 mpg UK, so actually quite good. You can also score consumption figures like this with a mild hybrid system. However, the battery is not too big, 1.2 kilowatt hours. So there are hybrids with bigger batteries, but the battery system itself, the hybrid system, does work very well. You have a lot of recuperation moments and so on. It starts at about 35,000 euros, and there's some equipment in it here with the panoramic roof. There's already the high trim level and so on. And then you get to around 39,000 euros for the very fully spec'd vehicle as it stands here right now. So you get a nice modern looking crossover in the compact segment for that. Some things on the interior do feel a little bit too cheap. I feel that could be upgraded a little bit more. And also driving wise, it's of course not that very agile. But then on the other hand, the hybrid system works well, it has good comfort, and some other interior tweaks like steering wheel and also like the seat materials and so on, they are actually really very good. So what do you think about this proposition here? And of course, tune into more vehicles in the compact segment.